I think you'll be surprised to hear that it's not going to be a legal suggestion. I mean, I have no legal suggestions in terms of Slovenia. I know too little about the legal environment here, and a Slovenian law would be a better place to do that. But I think it's about having events like this, and I think somebody else said earlier, you know, the fact that I'm here is important, and I think we need to have discussions like this. And I think the other aspect there is we have to understand that corporate governance evolves, okay? Right now, if we were having this discussion in the UK, it would be about gender. It would be much more about remuneration. So every country has its own problems, and those will change. But right now, the fact is that we're all in a financial crisis. This gives us the opportunity to do big things, okay? So my advice is think big.
Okay, Irina?
What in fact, I do professionally is that I try to take care that all the standards are imposed, the right ones, within corporate governance. Researchers are done, education. So I think we'll strive to do that. Still, nothing really. I don't expect any big events. It's a usual way of when government changes, there are new ideas that have to be evaluated and put on a benchmark. And I think what we will try to do is to benchmark, is it good or bad, and try to say our voice and try to educate, like events like that more, and try to educate the supervisory board members as well. So I don't believe, I believe in a new culture, of course. If I would not believe that, I'd probably go away, stop doing what I do. But I don't believe in big things, you know. Small steps are the most important one, and I'll try to keep on doing them.
Thank you. Yuri?
I have a little déjà vu today. About 20 years ago, I was present at a similar event in Poland, the Warsaw Stock Exchange. And what struck me at that time, I remember, was that that country, much less developed than Slovenia, the ex-communist, at that time really ex-communist, almost communist country. At that time, I was shocked that they really knew what they were going to do. They knew where they were going. They said, we're going to build proper capitalism with a proper infrastructure, proper corporate governance. And 20 years ago, for me, it was a shock that somebody in Central Europe actually know what they're going to do. Today in Slovenia, I feel the same. We still, 20 years later, talking, thinking, what are we actually trying to do here with this country? Now, 20 years later, we, being the more developed, our companies are dreaming about being listed in Warsaw Stock Exchange, which is funny, and we still don't know where we're going. So the first step I would do is for Slovenia to decide who we are. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to be the last communist country in Europe for another 50 years? Are we going to build a proper market economy or some weird hybrid, or I would call it a monster? Let's decide where we're going, and if once we do it, we're going to get it there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I think Yuri is absolutely right. I mean, I think there is, basically the roadmap is very easy. I mean, we see that the existing business model of Slovenia has failed completely in every respect of the life, so I think that's done. So what is the new model? The new model is basically exactly the opposite what was the model up until now. Is first of all, you have to fully open the country, because such a small country, the only way to prosper is to fully open it in every single respect. That's one thing. The other thing is, don't rely on the banks anymore, because clearly they're not able to do their business. So the only alternative to the banks is to really try to develop as much as you can the local capital market. And this is basically what Poland did, and this is why Poland is so successful. And then the third thing is just privatize the state-owned companies. If you don't want to privatize them because of whatever interest, then don't privatize them, but then do what, luckily enough, the new finance minister is trying to do, which is put together the different buckets of the assets, hire foreign asset managers, because just the foreigners will have the necessary distance to the local shenanigans and the local networks, and they will not care about those and really do the proper job. And then once you do these three things, the things will start to move. But this is the only way forward. And you have to be aware that the Slovenia right now, because of what's going on in Europe, is in a situation where there is not an alternative to this option. Slovenia is not able to access the capital market. Slovenia is not able to refinance itself. And if the things will go on as they do right now in Europe, there will be no second chance for Slovenia. So I think it's really, it's really a matter of survival, one thing. On the other thing, I'm now for the first time in my entire professional career optimistic that the things will really change in Slovenia. Not because I would think that the new government has a completely different paradigm, but I just think that the situation is such that there is no other alternative, and clearly the new government has made some very smart decisions and some very good results so far. So in this regard, I really think, this is the way to go, because the alternative is just something which nobody of us would want to see.
I have a question for Matjaž. Are you aware of the public tender that our government is trying to impose to look for the management of a new holding company for state ownership? You are. So are you thinking about answering to this tender?
Sure. This is our business. This is what we do for a living. So for sure we will. If there will be, first of all, we need to see the tender, because it's always nice to talk about it, but it's much more difficult to really issue a tender. It's even more difficult to sign than the one you select, because even in Romania, when we were selected, we needed more than a year and a half to really sign the agreement. But the point is, absolutely, we are interested in that for sure. It's our business, and I think it's the right way forward. Irrespective of who at the end will be selected, I think it's the only way, but clearly this will not be enough. You have to open fully the capital market, and you have to open the country in every single respect, because if you look at every small country which is successful, being it Singapore, which in my mind is probably the best example in the world, or either Luxembourg or whatever, it's just like, if you don't open the country, our advantage being a small country is being small and having a good strategic position, even though we haven't been able to make any use of it so far. But the point is that if you don't play out these advantages, there is, then clearly you don't have any competitive edge over your competitors.
Small is really beautiful. Since summer is approaching, when I think of small, I also think of island Susak. So we as a nation, we can decide. Nah? We are small. We can decide more into the direction of Susak, a beautiful island, interesting people, or into the direction of Singapore. It's our option.